Hello, what's going on, everyone? I'm John Hasselbauer, golf writer for thelines.com. It is Super Bowl week 4 golf this week. What I love about golf is they don't save the best for last, they save the best for first. The Masters is here. It is my favorite tournament of the year. It is everyone's favorite tournament of the year, a tradition unlike any other, so on and so forth. We've got Jim Nantz back in the booth coming up for the weekend on CBS. And all of the nostalgia that comes with it down Magnolia Lane. It has been a pretty good year of golf betting for us so far. So we're coming in with some decent momentum leading into the Masters. And hopefully after we go through this video, you are prepared to take down your Masters pools, your DFS contests, all your favorite bets, your outright bets, your prop bets, your novelty bets. We've got them all for the Masters this week. It's the best week to bet of the year. And it is one that we can really cull down the number of contenders in the field on, I would say, 2 hands. And we'll go through, I would say there's 9 players in this field this week that I can see winning the Masters this week. I'm not one to dig into trends and cross people off a list because 10 of the last 12 have done this and 9 of the last 10 have done this. But there are general profile things that you look for that if you're not in great form, haven't won recently, haven't seen the course before, it's not going in your favor. And, a week like this where you have a prohibitive favorite like a Scottie Scheffler, who we'll talk plenty about in this video, it actually opens up the odds for everybody else around him to be a lot more appealing. We saw that last year when we had that 3-headed monster with Scheffler, Rahm, and Rory all priced next to each other. Actually opened up some pretty good value for Rahm himself, who won at about 12-1. You can find him around those odds this year, but again, it's a conversation of can he beat the hottest player in the world right now. So before we really dive into Augusta, all of my favorite stats for the week, everything that I'm plugging into my model itself, people I bet, everything about Augusta, make sure you are subscribed to the Lines YouTube channel. You can ring the bell for all notifications, not just for my videos, but for everybody else making content on this wonderful site. We are just wrapping up the March Madness season, which Eli, my colleague here at the Lines, has done an amazing job of grinding through and setting me up to have a really deep bracket run. With sleepers like Clemson and all that. That's coming to a close this week. Masters is center stage, but now we've also got NBA playoffs coming up. We've got MLB in full swing. So the content never stops at the Lines. It's not just golf. If you know me at the Lines, we've got plenty else going on. So make sure you do subscribe to this YouTube channel. And also check out thelines.com. I'll share my screen now. You can check out what we're cooking on the homepage over here. If you're new to the channel, if you're new to this and just coming in for the Masters, there's a lot of content already centered around the Masters, but also March Madness tonight. And you can see all the other stuff we got going on in the betting world. We're going to cover golf from every angle, not just me, but everybody on the staff, answering every question you need to know about trends, anything that you need to know about the Masters you can find on thelines.com. And while you're here, you can join the Discord. You can just click this button right here on the top and you are in the Discord. It is free. It's where I post my outrights as soon as I place them. It's where we sweat in real time all of our outrights together. There's nothing better than hitting an outright with a big community behind you who's sweating it together. So cannot stress enough the how awesome it is in the Discord. That is completely free. Do hope that you join that for this Masters, if for nothing else, just to watch the Masters alongside us. Hopefully we get a sweat all together. So with that, let's dive right into my tournament preview, which again, you will find on the homepage shared on the screen right here. Jon Rahm is your defending champion at Augusta National, a first-time winner last year. I have to say, I root for my bets first and foremost when it comes to the Masters, but if I'm not going to win my bets, I love seeing a first-time winner at the Masters get it done. I don't really want to see Scottie do what he did at the Players, where he's already won this event and he runs it down and he wins his second Masters. I want somebody's life to change this week. And everybody that I bet this week is chasing their first Masters. There's not a ton of Masters former champions in the field this week, obviously. So a lot of the favorites are chasing their first, Rory included. He's the best player in the world to not have a Masters win. Big storyline for this week, of course, as it has always been for Rory in pursuit of the career Grand Slam. I'm going to skip to, where should we begin with the Masters? I think we start with the field itself and let the players in this field kind of define the tournament itself. Then we'll talk about Augusta National, what the important stats are, what I fed into my model, what it spit out, and what that led me to bet. So looking at the board, we have Scotty Scheffler. You can get him now. You can get him at 450. So interesting to see the line move backwards before odds reset today. You could not find a better number than 4-1 for me. I'm still not going to bet Scotty Scheffler at plus 450. If you stay locked in on all the articles that go out this week on thelines.com, I am preparing an article that says, instead of betting Scotty Scheffler plus 450, here are some appealing prop bets that you can bet that are better bets than him beating the entire field at a major. Would I be surprised if Scotty Scheffler won his second Masters in 3 years? Absolutely not. He is expected to do so. He is the prohibitive favorite at half the odds of anybody else in this field. So if you are a casual bettor and you're not as concerned about weekly unit exposure and going overexposed a certain week over another, not a bad idea to bet Scotty Scheffler. I wouldn't tell you not to do it if you were just trying to get a sweat and you want to root for somebody all week. You want to put a 450 bet in there. It's not a bad number. I mean, anything short of 4, I would say you're crazy to bet as an outright. But plus 450, that's not the worst odds I've seen. I'm not going to do it personally. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Scotty Scheffler wins. But it's important to understand the behemoth that we're kind of running against with Scotty Scheffler. He won in 2022. He finished T10 in his title defense last year. The players who defend their title at Augusta National have a horrible track record repeating, whether that be, I don't know, the extra work that goes into hosting the Champions Dinner, putting that menu together, hosting everybody, taking all of this new allure that comes with being a Masters champion for the first time, coming back to those grounds. It's a lot. It's a big weight to do all of that and then repeat. And Scheffler still finished T10, which I think was impressive. So now he comes back again. He didn't win last year, so he's got a little something to prove. He's finished first, second in his last 3 starts. He has one finish of T21, is the worst finish he's had since October 2022. So it's been a year and a half since he's finished outside the top 30 in an event. And the top 10s just keep piling up. Rory McIlroy did finally get his first top 10 finish of the season last week at the Valero Texas Open. But before that, Scotty Scheffler had posted 7 top 10 finishes on the PGA Tour since Rory's last. And we're talking about the world number 1 versus the world number 2 in Rory McIlroy. So that just kind of goes to show what the gap in the world of golf is right now from the best to the second best. And the odds reflect that here. You're getting half the odds on the best player in the world versus second. So Scotty Scheffler, a worthy favorite. He does everything you need to do well to find success at Augusta National. He cannot miss a fairway right now. He's long, he's straight. Not only that, he has a million shots in his bag. He can hit a draw if he needs to. He can hit a cut if he needs to. He can hit a stinger, a high ball. He hits a very high approach shot. He's great with long irons. He's probably the most skilled and reliable player from around the greens. And the putting has been the Achilles heel for Scotty Scheffler, but all of a sudden he's switched to a mallet putter and he hasn't lost strokes since he's done that. So always a little bit of something to raise your brow at when you see somebody make an equipment change and consistently week over week see good results. I don't think that is a indefinite solve to Scotty Scheffler's putting issues. He was literally a bottom 5 putter on the entire tour before 2 months ago. And he was due to regress a little bit, but do I think he's just going to gain strokes putting every single week? No. Does he need to gain strokes putting to win the Masters? No. So that's why he's a threat. I would be very surprised if he finishes outside the top 5. And I actually think one of my favorite bets this week is Scheffler to finish top 5 at plus odds. That just feels like something that feels like an inevitability the way he's been playing. I'll actually skip just quickly so we can look at what Scheffler's been doing. This is outrageous. I mean, gaining double-digit strokes total on the field in 3 of his last 4 starts is absurd. From a tee to green standpoint, it's all the same. So it's not even like the putter's completely carrying him. He's been good with the putter. He's been dominant in certain cases at the API and the players. But when we talk about a top 5 bet on Scheffler, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 top 5 finishes over since the BMW last year. So more likely than not that Scheffler is going to finish top 5, and this is a limited field. That's a bet I like. I don't know if I'm personally going to do it because I'm not really looking to double up my money on prop bets this week. I like to spread it out a little bit, have more fun with my bets. But if you just want to do like an even odds bet, that feels like a pretty good place to start, to be honest. So that's Scottie Scheffler. Spent a lot of time on Scheffler, but you kind of have to. This tournament kind of begins with what do you think Scheffler's going to do when you talk about pools? Do you start your lineup with Scheffler, or do you try to differentiate it in other places, or do you go contrarian there and go for the second best player and just hope that Scheffler doesn't win and that guy does? Same thing with DFS. Are you going to put Scheffler in your lineup or not? Every decision this week when you approach it from a fantasy or a gambling perspective begins with how are you going to handle the Scheffler situation? After Scheffler, a lot of things start to blend together. Rory McIlroy has been a disappointment this year up until the Valero Texas Open last week, where he finished a distant 3rd place. But it was the perfect situation you could have asked for out of Rory McIlroy. He hit the ball great. The approach was some of the best approach numbers we've seen from him all season. It was stress-free golf for the most part. He was, hitting into the trees a little erratic at times, but it seemed like he scrambled and recovered every single opportunity he had, which are situations if you're going to tune up the week before the Masters, you want to test yourself that way and see if you can get in and out of trouble. So I don't think Rory McIlroy cared whatsoever about the Valero Texas Open. Every interview that he did last week, every question he fielded was, how does this affect your preparation for the Masters? Which is too bad for the Valero Texas Open, really. Even when Akshay won the thing, every question was, how does going to the Masters change things? So it's not even like winning the Valero was the headliner. It was like, how does gaining entry into the Masters, change things? So that's why I'm not like super jazzed about that tournament at all. But I digress. So that's the Rory situation. Before last week, I was 100% out. I thought he was really searching for answers and coming up blank, but he found those answers at Valero. We all know Rory's history. I'll pull it up here just so you can kind of see on Bet the Number what Rory's history here is. I think that's important as a storyline here as well. He is chasing the career Grand Slam. He has won the U.S. Open, PGA, and the Open, so he has been in search of a green jacket for his entire career. And it's been a little bit of a mixed bag, but it's been more good than bad. Since 2016, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 10 finishes. This 2022 one is misleading. He never had a chance. He got blown out by Scottie Scheffler in that one. I had a Rory ticket that year, and I can confirm that it was never a sweat. So that's a little bit misleading. But, he's been in contention. He's had his chances. They haven't been as many as he would like, but he's an ideal fit for what you need to do at Augusta, which is be elite driving, hit it long, hit it high, especially on approaches, be great on long iron approaches, have good touch around the greens. That's all Rory does. So if he has his game all figured out, he's going to be a threat. Jon Rahm, defending champion, coming back from LIV. Seems to be same old Jon Rahm on LIV. A bit surprising that he hasn't won on the LIV Tour since he joined, but he's been in contention most weeks there. So, I would expect him to play pretty well, but I would temper expectations being that he is defending for the first time, and we just don't see a lot of guys contend back-to-back years after winning. So He's also chased. I don't believe he's won since the Masters, actually. So 12-1 is a bit short, I would say, on Jon Rahm from a win equity standpoint, knowing that he's in the midst of a little bit of a drought. So that's really like sort of a big three. And then after these guys, it really starts to blend together where you got to make your choice between Xander, Brooks, Hideki, Jordan Spieth. That's probably its own tier of elite players who also have great history at this event. And then you've got Niemann, Ludwig, Wyndham Clark, Will Zalatoris are sort of guys that people are betting. I think this is too short on Joaquin Niemann, who hasn't really had a sweat in the majors yet. He's having a great year on LIV. He's having a great year on the DP World Tour too. He's a great phenom player, suits the course very well, has won at the Genesis Invitational at Riviera, which is a great comp for here. That's been a good indicator of better results to come. He finished runner-up in a playoff to Harris English at the Century, which is another good indicator of success at Augusta. So it makes sense for him to eventually figure it out at Augusta. And it's great that he got a special invite. He deserves to be here without a doubt. One of the most promising young prospects in the world of golf. But is that going to translate to a Masters win? I would be a little surprised. I would be a little surprised if Joaquin Niemann won the Masters this week. I wouldn't be shocked because he's an extremely talented player, but his past performance here, and not just here, in other majors where he's been in better form, he's almost like Max Homa in that regard, where it's like he has the game that should translate to major results. Still young too, so we're not going to count him out. I think in due time he will be there in the mix. But I'm going to wait and see on Niemann. I think that's way too short of a number given his past history at this event. You got Aubert, and Wyndham Clark, two debutantes that you can get at 30-1 odds or longer. Both really ideal profiles for what you want to do at Augusta, which is hit it long, be great on par 5 scoring, which are both elite at, good long iron approach players. Can get streaky with the putter. Wyndham Clark a little bit more streaky of a putter than Aubert, but it's a little dicey for me to pay this price on these two debutantes when you just don't know how they're going to react to this course. It's unlike any other course that you play on the PGA Tour. It's a completely separate beast. It's undulating. It's massive. There's crowds everywhere. It's a different atmosphere. It's just something that can kind of catch you off guard once the event starts, and that's why debutantes haven't won since Buzzy Zeller. But they should play well. They should suit the course well. Wyndham Clark has been arguably the second best player on the PGA Tour besides Scotty Scheffler, and he's finished runner-up to Scheffler in each of Scheffler's last 2 wins. So playing phenomenal golf. On form alone, 35-1 is actually a pretty good number here, but I'm not betting it outright on debutante this week. I thought about it, but I'm not going to do it. Zalatoris is interesting to me because the ball striking is there. The history at the Masters is absolutely there. Fits the course very well. Very much shades of Brooks Koepka, where has this sort of injury history where in the middle of the season he disappears, but once it's time for majors, he figures it out and he's immaculate. So I'm very interested in Will Zalatoris. Hovland is a pass for me. He's going through swing changes with a new coach. I hate everything about it. He is searching for answers, and I just don't think he's ready this week. He'll be a hard fade for me. Same with Patrick Cantlay. I bet him last year. He was sort of in the mix, slow played everybody to death. Just don't want to see him win. I know I opened this video with I'd love to see somebody new win the Masters. I don't want to see Patrick Cantlay win. I don't like the way he plays. He's not been playing well this season. This is not his year, I don't think. Tony Finau, that would be fun. That would be fun to watch Tony Finau win the Masters. 40-1 is a little too short for me, but another guy who just has it figured out at Augusta and contends pretty often here. So top 10 on Tony, I can get behind that for sure. Bryson, I'm out. History is terrible at Augusta, the undulations, the uneven lies, and all of that. That's going to be a hard pass for me. I know that his form's pretty good on LIV, but just not interested to go there. Fitzpatrick, I don't feel strongly about. Dustin Johnson, I think, has struggled to put 4 good rounds together. So that's probably a pass. Justin Thomas, I'm not going to bet this at 40-1. Maybe this gets to a point in DFS where you just take a chance. He just ditched Bones. So I don't know what to do with that. There's a little bit of a trouble in paradise situation. Cameron Smith drifting to 50. That's an interesting bet. There might be more to the illness that forced him to withdraw. I think he had food poisoning at Live Miami. Maybe some books are sharper on this and know that he's sicker than he's leading on. 50 is a very long number for somebody who has some of the best course history in this field. So that's interesting. I've already built my card, but that is drifting to a point that's almost too much to ignore. That's a really good number on Cam Smith. Tommy Fleetwood, not a 45. Colin Morikawa seems a bit lost. Doesn't have the distance or the touch around the green that I'm looking for this week. Cameron Young, I think people will be on Cameron Young this week. He broke my heart. At the Valspar, he could not outduel Peter Malnati and look shaky down the stretch when he had a chance to close it. So I have my concerns about Cam Young closing out the Masters. Could I see Cam Young winning the PGA or the US Open this year? Absolutely. I definitely could. I could see Cam Young being a first-round leader this week for sure as well. A great track record in majors. I cannot see him picking up his first career PGA Tour win at the Masters when I've seen what he looks like down the stretch. That could be famous last words for me. That could be me getting too personal about him ruining my Valspar outright card when all he had to do was beat Peter Malnati. And Peter Malnati's in this field, so maybe he's worried about that. He's got to beat Peter Malnati again to get a green jacket. Shane Lowry, 61, that's a good number. Again, not a closer. Really same deal with Cameron Young. It's interesting that they're priced right next to each other because both suit the course very well, but just don't seem to be able to shut a door. Sahith, I feel okay about Sahith. I feel okay. It's a decent fit here with Thigala, but I'm not going to bet him at 50. Russell Henley, a little bit of a misleading T4 here last year. It was all putting. Didn't actually play that great from tee to green. He's playing pretty well now, but again, doesn't strike me as a major champion. And also the approach play is just not like what we're used to seeing from Henley. So out on that. Homa 65. Last year, you could have gotten me to bite on that, but I think he's still figuring a lot out with the ball striking. He's not the same player that we knew of him of late. So I'm still waiting for him to figure out his form. I do think he will win a major in his career. I think his numbers and his swing just back that up. Like he's been great in big moments. He's won on difficult courses. He had a very similar resume to Wyndham Clark before he won the US Open, like just somebody who was a bit of a late bloomer and then figured it out. So I do still want to buy long-term stock in Max Homa, but just not this week. Hatton, absolutely not terrible form here. Burns, not in a major. Siwoo, I like, but not as an outright. Gooch is not in this field. So then we get a little bit longer tail, and that's guys that I don't think anybody should bet outright. So that was really my take on everybody you could consider betting in this field. Anyone we did not touch on, I don't think has the best chance of winning. So next, I think we go to the model. I'm here in Bet the Number. That is the model that I use for all of my course research. They have an amazing site that gives you all the detail you need to know, the scoring averages per hole relative to PGA Tour average. So, we're on large greens, they're bent grass. We know all this about Augusta, but any given week on the PGA Tours is just such an easy snapshot. We're working with 7,500 yards. One of the longest courses on the on the tour that we see throughout the schedule. And you get, your field, your form leading in. You can search by last year's field and see that leaderboard and how everybody stacked up leading into that. And this is Fortinet now, but you get the point. So that is where we are. Bet the Number. I would encourage anybody to give it a try. I have my promo codes up on Twitter. Definitely DM me if you have any questions. Getting access to that. While that loads, I'm going to go to the offline version of the model. This is everything that was spit out. of it, I will just spend a little bit of time on the model. Augusta National, what's important here? I would say number one, long iron approach play. This is not in the exact order of the way it was weighted. But I'll just voice over it. Long iron approach play, being able to consistently score on 450 plus yard par fours and hitting long irons into them, especially in firm conditions, which we should predominantly get after Thursday this week. You need to be able to hit a long iron high, which is usually correlated to swing speed and distance. So longer hitters have a better chance of holding these greens. Kevin Kisner had some really interesting quotes over the years about this, that he just doesn't stand a chance to compete at Augusta because he's hitting 3-wood into some par fours that Rory McIlroy's hitting a 7-iron into, and he can fly it and make it stop on the green. And it's impossible for somebody with low swing speed like Kevin Kisner to hold some of these firm and fast greens. So it's definitely a leg up to have distance. They've pushed back the tee boxes, I think, to an extent where you have to be long to contend here. Even if you look at the leaderboard last year, it was Rahm, it was Koepka, it was Phil Mickelson, who's really his identity now is speed, and then you had Russell Henley in there, but it was all putting. So if you're gonna contend without distance, you're gonna have to make every putt, which is not a position that I want to take at Augusta National. Distance important, long iron approaches, scoring on long holes, scoring in difficult conditions, performance in past majors, I think is crucial. That's something I have very high weight on in my model here. I also have comp courses. Many of them are major venues, so it's a lot of overlap between these two categories. But this will also roll in like a Riviera, a Kapalua, two courses that favor working the ball. I shouldn't say that about Kapalua. They share basically the two different things about Augusta that are important. At Riviera, it's working the balls in different directions, scoring in difficult conditions, and just having creativity on your drives and your approach shots and around the green, just generally thinking of shots and hitting them. Kapalua is more the undulations. It's a massive property. You have to be comfortable hitting off of uneven lies. And the short game shots you're hitting are onto like plateaued greens with dramatic elevation changes. That's going to be important for Augusta National. So those two are definitely in here. And there's a few like Muirfield Village, of a couple other difficult scoring venues here that are not just majors and a little bit more of a recent sample. So that's very important to me this week. I've got approach putting, which is a bet the number stat, which is similar to 3-putt avoidance, but more how many feet left to the hole do you have after your first putt. So looking for people who can lag putt well and give themselves a tap in on long putts. Speed control is absolutely crucial at the Masters. The greens are massive, and you can hit good shots that just don't come down the hill the way you thought they were, and then you're left with like a super fast downhill 50-foot putt that you need the touch to be able to stop. So that's where experience comes into play, knowing where to miss and where not to miss, and then being able to execute the shots. So I have course history in here as well for that reason. It's no surprise that this course has the highest correlated numbers for repeat course history. So if you've played well here before, that's usually a pretty good indicator that you'll play well here again. And conversely, if you have not played well here, it's really hard for you to figure it out. It takes some time. But if you're in better form, then that might be something you want to look to buy low on. And then you have your general tee to green stats. So I've got recent form in here as tee to green stat. Overall approach around the green, putting, you have to be good at everything. Par 5 scoring crucial as well. There's only 4 holes that average under par here, and it's each of the 4 par 5s. So have to be able to score on the par 5s. That's absolutely crucial, and that's another stat that gives an advantage to driving distance. So that is the model, and as you can see, it's already ordered by the guys who rate out the best. So I think any model that you run this week that doesn't have Scotty Scheffler at the top of it is flawed. He's number 1 in mine. Xander Schauffele, number 2. I don't think that surprises anybody. He's one of the best players on the PGA Tour right now, in great form. Always plays well at Augusta, has not won here, but has had plenty of chances to. John Rahm, number 3, makes sense. Ludwig Aubert, great in the model. You can see here, really good long par 4 and par 5 scorer. Has above average driving distance, 17th in the field. Hits it on an arrow. Makes a ton of sense on this course. Somebody I'll want to have exposure to in pools and DFS. Just don't think that he can win this one outright. Dustin Johnson, interesting for him to pop being on live, but he's a great player in majors, and there's a lot of weight here on both driving distance, and you can see last 5 majors he ranks top 10. Comp courses he ranks top 10. Course history ranks top 10. So Dustin Johnson, not the best form from live. It may not matter. He's Dustin Johnson as the Masters, a sensible play. Rory McIlroy, number 6. I think that makes sense for him. Tony Finau, 7. Clark, 8. Cameron Smith, who I'm a little bit higher on than most. I just don't know what to do with this illness that he's battling. It puts him in a very interesting position where his number has dropped a bit too far. So I'm not really sure what to do with Cameron Smith, but he's a very interesting fit this week on course history. I really should just bring up what he's done at Augusta. Let me see if I can get that up here. We'll go to the player page and find Cameron Smith. And as you can see, if we search by the Masters, he has 4 top 10 finishes since 2018. It's a very good resume. A really good chance to win in 2020, the COVID year that Dustin Johnson won. And, it followed that up with a T3 in 2022, the year that Scottie Scheffler won. So just someone that makes sense. It is somewhat of a second shot course here at Augusta National. You don't need to hit it accurately. That's obviously it helps. But the fairways are very generous. You can get away with being a little bit erratic off the tee, which he is. If you are elite approach around the green and putting, which he is. Currently, he's not at this level. He's not striking the ball the way that he was in 2021 and 2022, where if he hit a fairway, you just gave him a birdie because he was going to knock it close and make the putt. He's regressed a little bit since then. So I'm leaning towards a fade on Cameron Smith, but if his ownership in DFS gets super low, I think he could be a very interesting contrarian play. And then we have Shane Lowry, number 10. Great fit for Augusta National, a very popular DFS play this week. I'm sure he has a great floor at Augusta. He's playing really good golf this season. He's not long. I think that's the only thing you could say is not going in his favor, but the ends justify the means, and it hasn't kept him from a load of top 10 finishes at Augusta. So I don't think this is his year to win, but I do like his fit. I think he's a good pool play. I think he's a good DFS consideration. So now as we move back to the model, I'm going to filter it by the guys that I bet. So it's a card of 4 for me. It's the Masters. I think you have to load up on some favorites. I said before, I think there's 9 players who I think can win the Masters this week. I bet legitimately, I think there 3 of these guys are going to be contenders, and Harris English is somebody who I think could win, but very unlikely that he does. Besides the other 3, if I had to look down the list, I'll pull this up again. The guys who I think can win the Masters, I would go Scheffler, Xander. I would say Rahm because he's playing well, but can Rahm win? I don't know if Rahm can win in his defense. I would even be a little skeptical about that. I don't think Dustin Johnson's playing well enough. I don't think Rory can win this year. Tony Finau is not going to win this year. Hideki Matsuyama I put on that list at number 4 who can win. Zalatoris here, number 5. Yep. Brooks Koepka, number 6. He can win. Yeah, not too many others. Oh, I did make a list. I forgot I made a list here. Here's who I think can actually win the Masters. I I got it at 7 guys. That's actually kind of. I thought I gave more guys a chance. I would give 7 guys a chance to win the Masters this year. Scotty, Xander, Brooks, Rahm, Hideki, DJ, and Will Zalatoris. If anybody else from those 7 win, I would be a little bit surprised. I did move Cameron Smith over. That's what it was. And I think I might have waffled a little bit on whether Wyndham Clark could win. I actually think Wyndham Clark could win. But I'm gonna say that one of these 7 is gonna win. That's the limb that I go out on. So anyway, just to wrap up with my outright bets, and you can definitely read up on these some more in my final bets article, which will be out on Wednesday. Xander Schauffele, number 2 in the model. If anybody's going to beat Scotty Scheffler this week, statistically, it would be Xander for me. He lines up the best with recent form. You can see top 5 at Valspar, runner-up to Scotty at the Players, had a great chance to win the Players, played well. Didn't close, but didn't do anything concerning in how he didn't close it out. He just didn't hit the clutch shots he needed to. You look at the Masters history, which is great that it's listed right here. Top 10s in 3 of his last 5, including a runner-up in 2019, the Tiger year. So just plays the course really well. I know he hasn't won a major yet. He's the best player in the world who doesn't have a major. I think that's kind of indisputable. So he's due. At some point, he is going to win a major. He has 8 career wins worldwide. He's gotten hot and gone on runs. We saw him win 3 consecutive weeks last season. So I think he's a little bit due. Brooks Koepka, me as somebody who models and trusts the numbers a lot, I tend to miss the Brooks weeks because you don't see them coming, but I'm trying to, be realistic here and say we're coming into a major. Brooks is healthy and he suits this course well. And the more that they adjust Augusta National to favor bombers, the more I want a guy like Brooks on my card. He's chasing his 6th career major, and he's already leading his era in most majors won amongst this field. So nobody has proven more capable of winning a major in this field than Brooks Koepka. He has more than everybody who's in their prime right now. So that just makes sense to me. And look at his history too. It's boom or bust. It always is with Brooks, but this is outrights. It's okay to be that way. 2 runner-up finishes over the last 5 years. Had a great chance to win last year in some shoddy weather. So I'm not going to knock him for a runner-up finish last year, and he won the PGA shortly after that. Zalatoris, all the same reasons I'm on Brooks, I'm on Zal. Sometimes you just trust that he's going to show up in majors. I was on him for his runner-up at the Country Club against Matt Fitzpatrick, so I know we're chasing a little bit of redemption this week. He will definitely be at least a one-time major winner in his career. I would set the line at 2.5 for Zalatoris. He just always plays well in majors, and he's so young. He's going to be a force for a while. Finished runner-up in his debut, I think, or he actually might have played as an amateur before that, so that might not count as his debut. But played so well in 2021. And then, T6 after that. And I was very excited to back Will Zalatoris last year. He withdrew right before play began with a bad back. So didn't get to actually see him on the course last year. I wouldn't get too concerned about this. He's in much healthier form now and striking the ball great. Just hasn't seen the putts go in. Not to say he's due for that to turn around, but he has putted well at Augusta for what it's worth. And then lastly, one long shot bomb for me. Harris English. We talked about the Kapalua Sentry crossover and the Genesis crossover. That's why Neiman is 30-1 this week because of those trends. English won the Sentry. He has a top 10 finish at the Genesis earlier this season. He is coming off of a miscut, which inflated his number. I'm okay with that. He had one bad round. Otherwise, his first round, he was fine. So this is not crazy alarming to me. It was one bad round at Valero. I'm not going to, I'll just take advantage of the discounted number. Before that, it was top 20 in 4 consecutive starts, as well as, a T14 and a T10 to start the year at Sony. So just playing really good golf this year, a really good player. I think one of the most underrated players on the PGA Tour, a Georgia native. And he's been here a couple times, and usually it takes a couple times before you actually figure it out. He's had 3 prior appearances at the Masters, and a T21 is not horrible here. So I just think he's a good player who is better than his reputation may suggest. And even if you look at his U.S. Open history, he can play in the majors. He finished T8 and T4 at the U.S. Open over the last 3 starts. So he's just somebody who surprisingly plays well in big stages. And, I just want a little stake in Harris English this week. That's all. Okay, this was a very long video. I expected it to be. It's the Masters, but this is all of my thoughts. I was happy to get them all out in one place, in one video. And this is all bookmarked, so you can all skip around to however you need to. But yeah, it's the Masters. I'm excited. I have so much to talk about. I appreciate everybody for tuning in this far. It's going to be a great week. We got plenty more content coming on the line, so make sure you do follow. But yeah, until then, thanks for listening along, and best of luck with your Masters bets this week.